Winning cures everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything. It is Monday, April the 12th. I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And this is the live show. So for those that listen to the podcast, this will be up on Tuesday morning. But as of right now, it is rocking and rolling live. We are on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, all the different places that you could possibly be. We are there. So make sure that you are subscribed where you need to be subscribed, of course, and do us a favor. Share out the show, retweet, share the Facebook out, all that good stuff. We would certainly appreciate it. Going forward, let's see, winningcureseverything.com. I'm going to knock it all out, Chris. I'm going to do the whole thing right now. Winningcureseverything.com, that is the website. Everywhere you need to be following and subscribing and all that is going to be right there. Every article, every show, everywhere that we are, all of our appearances will pop up on that website right there. So make sure that you visit it on the regular. We have posts every day now because we do shows basically every day. Michael Fritz jumps in. Happy Monday, fellas. Hope you all had a great weekend. He is on Twitch. And Taylor said, sup, fellas. That is what I like to hear. Sup. Sup indeed. It's been a good weekend. Chris, of course, on the show last night, this morning, whichever one you listened to, talked about the Masters, talked about a lot of baseball. We are going to hit some more baseball today. We have some football to discuss, of course, which leads me to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. You can go and check it out. That is the one-stop shop for college football gambling content. Sportsbook Review has treated us right. They will treat you right as well. So go ahead and check it out. We do a weekly show over there. And once we get into the season, obviously, we will be doing more shows. But in the off-season, which, again, no real off-season, but during this time between the actual seasons, we do one show a week, and you can find it on YouTube. Just search out SBR Picks. Very easy to find. Brown Yeti said, sup, fellas? Service is trash, so I don't know how long I'll be here. Hey, I understand. Sometimes you're just in a bad spot. You know, I've had bad internet before. I know how that goes.
Yes, we have had bad internet issues.
McKinnon said, happy Monday, gents. My boy Jordan didn't win, but he still looked like the Jordan of old, which makes me hopeful for his future. Hey, but before we jump into all this other stuff, Jordan Speed looked good, man.
Yeah.
He looked good. I felt good about it.
Listen, he still couldn't drive worth a damn, but the fact that he was able to save all those drives and still put up the performance he put in was great. Was great.
The Sunday performance was a monster.
Yep.
Like 6 under on Sunday. That's when it counts.
Well, I mean, the guy that had the biggest Sunday was Rahm, but he was, 11 strokes down before Sunday. So
yeah, it kind of
doesn't. There's no monster day you can have to catch 11 strokes.
You are correct about that. It was fun to watch. The Masters was fun. I was hoping for a little more drama, and we almost got it, except for our boy Evander. Whew.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I thought about this last night as soon as I finished the podcast, and I kind of went into it a little bit in the show. I was going that direction, and then I went away from it. Literally, Jim Nantz immediately, as soon as I guess 15 happens and Hideki bogeys 15, he's like, all right. We got a shot right here. We got a shot. And then Xander triple putts or triple bogeys.
Yeah.
And like all shot is gone. That's literally last week, Jim Nantz saying, we're down to single digits. And then boom, it's 20-point lead again. It's like,
gone.
Jim Nantz, will you please stop? Just stop.
Yeah,
okay.
Stop
when
trying to predict it.
When a freight train is running away, just stop trying to make it interesting. You're making it worse than it actually is.
Yes, that's 100% what it is. 100%. Michael Fritz jumps in. It's crazy that he can make double and triple bogeys and still shoot, 8 under? Speed, the super talented Xander, let us down. Yeah. I mean, Shoffley, I was convinced he was about to pull it up. But
I'm going to tell you this. I didn't think 10 under was even going to get there. Okay. Like when I said they were going to cut this thing in half, I thought it was going to be less than that. I thought 7 to 8 under was going to win this thing. I really did. When he was 13 under at one point in time, we got a little late drama, whatever you can say what you want about it. It doesn't matter, man. He was 13 under. That lead is insurmountable. Yeah. He would need a Greg Norman cock up to piss it away.
Yep. And we were close. We were close.
Yeah, we thought, kind of.
I mean, he only won by one stroke. So
yeah, he only won by one stroke, but I mean, he wasn't putting like a big putt at the end to win.
Yes. Ryan Johnson jumped in and said that Randy Orton match was so lame and said worst WrestleMania ever. Well, we are going to discuss that. We're going to talk about just the general feeling around WrestleMania. We won't talk a whole lot of specifics, but we'll chat about that. Let's start off with this. I do want to mention Thursday, April 29th, NFL Draft, first round, live stream. We're doing it right here again. Every year we do this. Our boys from the Westlake Pirates join in with us. We have 5 talking heads that will be sitting here doing the damn thing, and it's going to be a good time. So hopefully you will all join us at 7 p.m. Central Time. We are going to start just as soon as that thing fires off, and then we are here for the rest of the evening. It's going to be fun.
So we're starting right when the draft starts, right?
We will start right when the draft starts.
Normally we wait and let this thing get a little in, but I think there's too much going on in the beginning that we need to be there for.
So we know what the first pick is going to be, but everything after that, like I think that we also know what the second pick is going to be.
I think we're pretty sold on the second pick. 80% of the country, and I would say 90% of the people in the world believe they know what the third pick is. I think they're all wrong.
I think anything could happen in that third pick. Like it could go crazy. In the fourth pick, who knows?
Kyle Shanahan openly say publicly say before, I can do this with anybody. Yeah. Okay. This is a guy that once clamored all over Kirk Cousins. Okay. And not Case Keenum, Colt McCoy. All right. Yeah. Like he really can do this with anybody. Why on earth do you think he would spend a third round pick on a guy who I think is going to be Colt McCoy and Kirk Cousins?
You got me. I don't know.
I think him and Bill are connected at the brain. I really do. I think there's a generational gap there, and I think they're the same person, just born 40 years later, 30 years later, and I think he wants a 2 tight end monster just like Bill's got now.
It's entirely possible.
I'm married to that opinion. Until the third round pick is in, I'm going to believe that's happening.
You never know. And that's why we're going to start this thing early. We are going to get in. We are going to discuss all the different ideas. Guys. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to convince you guys to leave your families and actually go to the draft.
Just for like a weekend. And we go somewhere and do this thing live.
I'm totally down with it. Taylor jumps in. Thaddeus Moss to the Bengals. Is that done? That's not done.
No,
he's just wishing it.
I think he's hoping it. I think our boy Scuzz was right. I think Thaddeus Moss could end up being a third string tight end with the Vikings.
It's entirely possible. I think he will be in the league. How about that?
That kid should have came back to college. Now there's no way he knew COVID was going to be a thing when he left. I guess it's a good thing that he left college and didn't have this weird ass year last year. But he would have benefited from another year of college.
I think so as well. Michael said Matsuyama's caddy bowing on the 18th green was a pretty cool moment. Definitely cool.
Something super cool, and not just cool, but like we do a whole lot of outrage in our country. We do a whole lot of yelling and screaming at folks and judging people. We don't do a whole lot of respect for just general things. Yeah, you're right. I enjoyed that immensely. Like it just being so humble in the moment. I'll tell you this today. I have tried to do simple things to just show a little more respect for everything that I do, because it's weird, but it's just like I took that last night and thought we don't show any respect for anything at all here.
Yeah.
Everything we use stuff up, and when we're done with it, we throw it away. And that's the same with people. That's the same with anything.
Every news topic basically is disposable. Everything that happens is disposable. It's just
very quickly. 9 times out of 10, as long as you're not like something like Deshaun Watson that's going to last for 6 months, just wait 48 hours, and whatever huge embarrassing thing you did will be done, and nobody will be talking about it anymore.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Ryan asked, do we watch baseball? Yeah, we watch baseball, and we're going to talk about some of it today.
Show last night was almost all about baseball after the Masters.
You got it. Chris couldn't get you guys out of town, huh? Said Ben. Not this year. It's we have 5 different people that we have to be able to sync to be able to do this live. So Yeah, it didn't work this year.
One of us 5 is super flexible and will go anywhere at the drop of a hat. The other 5 have a lot of answering to do.
Yes, very much so. Brown Yeti said, glad I'm getting a golf recap because I watch baseball. Do not be able to, do not be able to go to sleep at work.
Yeah. I watched the Red Sox yesterday once I realized Hideki's lead was insurmountable. And then the Red Sox game ended, and I went to the golf, and it was still going for another hour. So this is one thing Hideki gets criticism for by other players in the league. I guess on the tour, let's say that.
Okay.
He plays incredibly slow.
Yes.
It's like that final round just wouldn't end. It's like, come on, dude, you're beating the hell out of everybody. Do you really need to focus this hard? Just hit the grip it and rip it, baby. Let's get this thing over with.
I think him playing slow might have actually hurt him towards the end because I think it was so much thinking about the impact of the moment.
Probably.
But, I mean, who knows, right?
There's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, as slow as he plays, as much as he puts into every single shot. We all have talked about this before. We talked about it last week about how golf is, very much a mental game. You put that much pressure on yourself, you don't just get out there and whack that thing around. It's going to come back to bite you at some point. And it
right.
Typically always has with him. I mean, he's always been pretty good, but his,
he has folded on Sundays. The Justin Thomas's one major was an Open, I think it was.
Yeah, US Open.
And I think that was one where Hideki had a big lead, and he just fell apart on Sunday.
You got it. And this time he had a big enough lead that it was all good.
He had a big enough. Unbelievable.
Yes. Taylor said that Ian Rappaport said the Bengals signed him off waivers. So the Bengals got him.
Oh, they got him done.
That makes sense.
I'll take it. Hey, I bet Joe had something to do with that.
Yep, reunion for sure. Taylor said, I knew Chris was the host last night when I saw it was mostly baseball topics. Yeah, maybe so. John Carter jumps in. Japanese tradition is one of the most respectful and prideful in the world. They either do it 100% or don't do it all. It's also why I was a huge GSP fan. Very respectful fighter. Yeah, and he was Canadian, but he definitely adhered to that. Brown Yeti, you don't show respect to your towel. I have to because of what I do to it once a day. My God, you guys.
Once a day, you got to pump those numbers, man.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's low count. Low count. Come on now. All right, let's dive into the topics that I had written out for the day. First one up, Eddie George is the new head coach of Tennessee State, which is going to make the Southern Heritage Classic insanely interesting.
I was just about to say, man, we got to get that thing back in Memphis, and we got to get
it will be.
Crowds back in that place.
It'll be there in September. It's coming back.
It's going to be a big deal.
Oh, it's going to be fan-friggin-tastic. So, did you hear some of the names that he's adding to his staff?
No.
So
now, hang on. Are these from him, or are this what people think? Because when Dion got the job, there was some Twitter thing floating around of all these other stars that were friends with Dion that were going to come on board, and that was just a thing Twitter put together, not Dion. So is this from him?
These are reports that he. So
okay, if this is actually reports,
yes.
That's different than the randos on Twitter saying fun things.
Let's see. I wrote it down at the wrong spot. I know this. Jeff Fisher was brought on as an advisor to help with not hosting. What's the word? Hiring. He was brought in to help with the hires. His son is going to be the defensive coordinator. They are
whose son? Fisher's son or George's son?
Jeff Fisher's son is going to be the defensive coordinator. I think his name is Brad Fisher or Brandon Fisher.
He's worked in the league for a while, I think.
Yeah. The offensive coordinator, they are working it out with Hugh Jackson. I knew that you would enjoy that name. So Hugh, is what it is there. And the other finalist for the head coaching job was Ray Lewis. And they're talking about bringing him on as a defensive assistant. So co-defensive coordinator or something like that.
There's zero chance Ray Lewis comes.
I thought that as well. I think the Hugh Jackson thing could happen. You got any thoughts on
that? No. The Patriots just released Julian Edelman.
Just released Edelman? Well, that kind of makes sense.
He failed his physical. He's not
going to be able to play this year. So, but we already knew that he wasn't going to play at least the majority of the year. So,
It just sucks. Okay.
Yeah, no, it definitely sucks.
I was not emotionally prepared for that, and I should not have been trying to check Twitter to see about these hirings.
Yeah, I see that. Let's see.
All right, I'll put that away now. That hurts.
Let's see. Patriots have terminated the contract of wide receiver Julian Edelman per The Wire. He's listed as a failed physical. Yep, that's per Rappaport. So, yeah. Let's see. It says Edelman has been mulling retirement. This could just be a precursor to that announcement. That's Mark Rice.
Well, yeah, now. Yeah, the decision's getting made for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's 34 years old. He's lost his speed a little bit, and he's not going to be able to play this year. Like, he was already – he missed most of last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he missed all of last year almost. Yeah, not all of it, but yeah.
Yeah, he missed most of it. So, it definitely sucks. I don't know that it necessarily means it's the end for him.
I think it means it's the end.
It might be. It might be. If you're a slot wide receiver, there ain't a spot for you if you're slow and damaged goods. So anyway. That definitely sucks.
Ray Lewis would shock me. Hugh Jackson would not shock me. But that son of a bitch is just trying to get a job anywhere. He's hawking some bullshit book about the Browns. Nobody like 7 people are going to buy it, and they're all going to be related to him.
Yeah.
I don't know who he thinks his market is.
Yeti said, "Dang, Chris, you look like someone shot your puppy. Do you need a hug?"
Yeah, I could use one.
You could use a hug.
It sucks.
Let's see. Taylor said, "Is there a prize for the winners of the WCE NCAA basketball bracket challenge?" Actually, I've got some. I got some T-shirts. DM me on Twitter. The ones that I think 2 people tied. Maybe I'm wrong. I got to go back and double check. Whoever won, DM me because it didn't show the actual names on this thing. It was just random, like ESPN generated names. DM me if you won, and I will hook you up. So no worries. I will get you something out. Taylor wanted to know if I play Madden, do I use PlayStation or Xbox? Would I be open to playing with WCE peeps? I do not play Madden. I bought it 1 year. Not a big fan of the actual game. The game's fine. I still play NCAA 14 on the PS3. And when they come out with a new NCAA game, I'll probably play that. Madden,
So if you don't like the gameplay of Madden, you might be disappointed with the new NCAA game. Because I think they're taking a lot of what they've done with Madden.
Maybe so. But I do know that the gameplay was different for NCAA as opposed to Madden back when they were still doing it.
I understand that, but they've gone, a decade without, NCAA.
They could definitely keep it the same. And if it's the same gameplay as Madden, I'll either learn to love it or it'll just be something else that I buy that I just sit in the corner and whatever.
Don't use.
Another thing that I buy that I don't use, and there's plenty of that around. Let's see. Taylor said EA will reskin Madden with NCAA. Yeah, maybe so. Taylor said he and Swedes tied. Okay. Well, yeah, just hit me up. Send me your address. I'll get it out to you. No worries. Moving on. Let's jump off of Eddie George and all these other things, and let's discuss Deshaun Watson. We got updates, and I hate talking about it. But
we got to.
We got to talk about this because we said it last week. We've said it multiple times. He's the second best quarterback, the second most talented, I guess, second most.
I think he's the second best quarterback in the game.
Yes, I think so.
That's my opinion. I think he's the second best quarterback in football right now.
So since we did a show, or since we last talked about it, there has been multiple things come out that I think are kind of important. The courts ruled that the names of the accusers have to be released. So that is a big thing. One of the first accuser, the first person on the lawsuit, she has come out and spoken publicly. Yep. And I guess we're just going to roll with this thing. Harden, the attorney for Watson, admitted just a couple of days ago that there were consensual encounters between the two. He said, "We are not denying that things happened, but they were all consensual," which goes back to the he said, she said, well, I didn't do anything, but she says this, and that, it's a whole disaster.
But hang on. Remember when this thing very first dropped, the very first day we covered it, Deshaun Watson came out and said, none of this happened at all. Remember that.
Well, there's ways to spin that.
And I said, wait a minute, that's a very dangerous, because later on down the road, if we find out these things did happen, if he changes his story to, well, they happened, but they were consensual, now who's the first person changing their story and the other people are staying consistent? And how does that affect people?
How does that affect the court case? How does that affect the
how does
criminal
that, what does
charges?
that tell? What does that tell you, just the general audience, and then you, any jurors?
I know this. In other court cases, when a guy comes in and says one thing and then changes the story, that's looked at, that is frowned upon. We'll say that.
Yes.
We'll say that because it immediately makes that witness not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blank here.
Credible.
Credible. Thank you.
Well, no, so in this situation, we have a he said, she said, but the she said story has not changed from day one. The he said story is now pivoting to a better defense.
I don't know what to make.
You got to
this.
admit these things happened immediately and admit they were consensual immediately. He didn't want to admit those things, and so he said nothing happened. And now he's saying they happened. We know they happened. We agreed they happened. We just now think it was consensual. That's dicey. That's dicey.
Yeah.
And if it was consensual, why'd you send DMs saying I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's
the other thing that hurts as well.
Oh.
Some of those have gotten leaked out. I think he's got an uphill climb.
Oh, it looks. I'm telling you, every week it looks worse. Like every week, it just gets worse and worse. And
I'm telling you, I still
tried.
think there's 51% of me thinks he never plays football again.
Yeah. Brown Yeti, I'm not saying he's guilty, but if you're going to lie, it better be a dang good lie.
Yeah. And you got to stick to that damn lie.
Yeah, stick to it.
There is no change in your story. They're just not. I'm not here to help people get out of trouble. I'm just telling you, you can't lie and then make up a new lie later.
Who was it Dave Chappelle that was like, if you're going to say you didn't do it, like it don't matter if you are in the middle of it or whatever, you got to stick to I didn't do it. Like,
the original who said this was Shaggy.
Well, yeah, it wasn't me. Like
it wasn't me.
But there was a skit about it.
I know you caught me on camera, but it wasn't me.
Like sir, is that you in that video? Nope. Like, it's like,
nope.
Are you sure? It looks exactly like you. Nope, that ain't me. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like I don't know. I feel like
story now.
I feel like he's gotten awful advice from his attorney. I think his attorney has botched this.
And he's got probably one of the best attorneys in the country,
which is insane.
Yeah, I think he's really cocked this up.
Michael said, "Does Houston just flat out release him?"
Well,
I think you let this play out first.
You have to let it play out because if you release him, all his dead cap money hits you, and it hurts your football team. If you let it play out and then you're able to release him for cause, then you're free.
Yeah, but as of right now, like, he's still a free man. He's still like there's charges against him, but he's not guilty yet. So you gotta wait. You gotta just wait it out and see what happens. And that's they've already got their guy. They've got Tyrod Taylor. But Michael said deny. Yeah, if you're him, that's what you should have done from the beginning. It wasn't me.
He started doing that, and that's fine. But now he's pivoting, and this is where you get in trouble. Is as soon as you pivot your defense, it's over.
The idea of his attorney, we talked about this last week, but to release all the good comments from all those people, that may have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that just made it 10 times worse.
Because then it told everybody how many
He's had this many
have you done this from?
This many masseuses? What are we doing?
Hang on, and these 17 like you? Why are you not still going to them?
Yeah, that's insane. That's the
like,
whole thing.
Why are you still looking for other women? These 17 were all booked up. Like, come on, man.
The whole story.
They like
so
you. You at one time liked them. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Why were you looking for other ones? And why did this one that said that she liked you, she stopped seeing you because she heard bad stories? Like, yeah, it's just bad. His defense has been awful. And Rusty Hardin may be a fantastic attorney, but this may just be an unwinnable case. Like, is it possible to have unwinnable cases? That's true. Sometimes, but there's a way to mitigate those unwinnable cases to make it not as bad as it needs to be. And now also you got to remember, these are all things done in public opinion. Yeah. Rusty Hardin maybe not be the best civil defense attorney in the country, but he is one of the best criminal defense attorneys. I do think there's zero chance any of the criminal charges stick at all. I understand what probable cause means. I understand what reasonable doubt means. You have to convict somebody
beyond a shadow of doubt. And I don't think there's any way on earth, as much as I believe so many of these things probably did happen, that it's not enough to convict.
Yeah.
He'll never get a guilty charge in a criminal case. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it. Okay. And it doesn't mean that he won't pay out the nose.
Yeah. Let's see. You're wrong. He should have never made a move on those women with consent or not. You were too high profile. Talking about Brown Yeti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously, yes, you should not sexually assault women. That is correct.
I feel like that's pretty common sense, right?
I was about to say, I don't know that we had to say that, but I guess we do.
It's who's the media guy that's always like, I'm just in case it wasn't out there, I'm against everything that's bad. Like I'm against death or whatever. Like, yes, obviously we are against sexual assault. We are against all of that stuff.
That's right. Don't do that.
Don't feel like we have to. But
if you're being accused by 22 women of doing that and you come out with the defense early, man, that's the defense you got to stay in all day. This is not a situation where you get to switch from man to zone midway through.
Were you surprised that the court ordered them to release the names?
A little bit. Here's the problem is once it went to, so some of them are charged criminally. So here's the thing. I'm curious about the court. Is the criminal court making them or the civil court? Because you do have a right in our country to face your accuser. Okay. Right. That is one of your inalienable rights of I guess it's a Miranda right. But it's one of your rights through your due process. Okay. Like you have the right to face your accuser cannot stay anonymous. So at some point in time, they were going to be released anyway, if they were on the lawsuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm certain that's right for criminal. I'm almost positive it has to be the same for civil. You have to know who's suing you. You have to know why there's you have to know all of these things. And it has to be out in the open.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Michael said, Chris is absolutely right. It's not about what happened. It's about what you can prove. And Taylor said, I'm worried now that it was consensual and they regret it. And Michael said, yeah, I jokingly say deny. No one should ever sexually assault women. No means no. Absolutely. Yeah. But that goes without saying. I mean, I feel like that's pretty common knowledge. Like, don't assault women.
I don't know that 22 women agreed to something and then regretted it. I think, and I've said this before, I think some of them absolutely probably are in that camp. Some of them are in the camp of, I want to be a part of this payday, maybe. Okay. I know that's a terrible thing to think, but that's a possibility. But I also think there's zero chance that all of them are making it up and all of them are just cases of buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I can't agree. The fact that the numbers are just too big. They're just too many.
It's too many of them. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. Brown Yeti, considering that we go through a case like this every year, I'm just stating the obvious because it doesn't seem obvious for some reason. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I feel like.
Yeah, but I can't, there's nothing we can say. Listen, those guys don't listen to our podcast, all right?
No. Deshaun Watson
ain't going to stop. And if he did this to all 22 women and he didn't stay with the 17 that liked him, there's a reason he left the ones that were willing to do anything with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he wanted the hunt. He wanted the encounter. He wanted the power situation. There's no PSA you can do to teach that person to stop doing that.
Yes.
That's who they've chosen to be, and that's who they're going to be.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
They have to choose to stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. You are correct about that. Let's go on it. Let's talk about WrestleMania for just a minute. We won't spend long on this. There seemed like there was less hype about this for whatever reason. I don't know what happened or why. Like, I know, like, Roman Reigns won. Like, he beat Daniel Bryan and Edge. Like, that was a big thing. Another big thing was Bad Bunny. Big Latin, I guess, hip-hop star, whatever it is. He apparently did, like, I saw the videos, played really well. I didn't watch all of WrestleMania, partly because there wasn't any hype to it. There was nothing to this weekend. I don't know how many people, I don't know if it was because it was on Peacock or what happened, but it seems strange that this event typically every year is like this massive thing. And it was sold out. It was in Raymond James Stadium. tons of live fans in the middle of a freaking football stadium. It's a huge deal, but there wasn't a bunch of talk about this. Was that surprising to you, Chris?
I thought the buildup was disappointing. I'm with you on that. And then the other part was, I just heard kind of terrible things about how boring it was. I think breaking it up into a 2-day event has gotten worse.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know what you do in there. I don't know. At some point in time, just condense this stuff down. If you're trying to tell that many damn stories, you're losing people. I'm
going through, and if you're not a big, like, just hardcore fan, you're not going to know a ton of these names. You know, women's tag team, you got Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defeated Natalya and Tamina. Like, I don't watch all the time, so I have no idea who that is. Randy Orton and The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, like, that's interesting, but I heard that match was bad. So, it is what it is on that. What was the other one? Zayn, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. That was a big thing, and apparently one of them stunned Logan Paul, which everybody enjoyed. So that was cool. But even still, I don't know that the fight itself was all that good. Sheamus defeated Riddle, and I don't know who Riddle is. He was apparently a champion. I have no idea. Like,
I was just about to say, I've gotten so far out of it. This is something that I used to love, and now, I don't really care anymore.
I don't know that it's necessarily like, I don't know that wrestling has gotten bad. I just feel like the Sunday at WrestleMania, I heard Saturday was better.
I heard the same thing. That the first day was better than the second day.
Matt Miller said, "Who watches WWE now?" There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of people that watch, but I don't know. Like, it didn't make sense to me that something that typically gets a whole lot of media coverage got basically none, and it wasn't. It was trending on Twitter and whatnot, but it doesn't take a ton to get trending. So I just don't know. Michael said, I was a fan back in the day, but the characters are terrible now, in my opinion. That's the thing. I don't know these characters. I don't know who these people are, and maybe it's just a transition from one era to another, but there's nothing that grabs me out of this. And if I'm just a fringe fan, which is exactly what I am, like, I wasn't paying for it. Like, there was no way I was going to sit and watch it because I have no idea. Like, I can't wait until my son gets old enough and we'll be watching this stuff. But we're going to start with, WrestleMania 3. Like, the stuff that you and I, Chris, used to sit over at your house and watch all the time. Like,
yeah, it's I don't know. I think wrestling's struggling. But maybe that's just me. That's just my opinion. There's probably some people out there that love it and think, I don't know what I'm talking about, but
it's really weird. I mean, coming from the generation that we came from with Big Boss Man, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Jimmy Snuka, like all these guys, like Hulk Hogan.
In the throes of Hulkamania.
Yes. Like that, and then moving from that into the Attitude Era with which we had somewhat started to outgrow it at that point. But, Stone
DX
Cold.
And NW,
like all that good stuff, man. Taylor said, send you a tweet. Okay, I'll check that. Let's see. Without them, it's boring, said Matt Miller. And Michael said, I don't know if I'm just getting old, but, man, listening to half of those guys annoys the crap out of me. Yeah. So, and Matt Miller said the fans make wrestling and WrestleMania. Yeah, but, and it was a full stadium, but I just, like, I think there's something about Roman Reigns that is tough to bring in people. Like, is that crazy? Like, I just don't think that he's super likable. Like, I like the fact that he's kind of a bad guy now, but I don't know. Brownie said the MCU has a ton of storylines, but you don't need to know them to watch one movie, so it's hard to draw people in when you set up a storyline that only hardcore fans care about. Yeah.
So he's exactly right on that. Dude, you could not have made a better contrasting analogy for what this is and their struggles here. The MCU, I used to, when it first started dropping movies, and I missed a few of them. Like, I was nervous to watch like one in the middle, and everybody I was like, who are the huge comic book nerds that knew all the stuff way before me, like, they were like, dude, I was like, who is this person? I remember Doctor Strange was one of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know anything about Doctor Strange. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know the history behind it. I didn't know anything. And I'm asking all these questions. And my buddy was just like, just watch. Go to the movie and see it. They're going to teach it to you. Like, they're going to tell you the story. And they did. They did every time they did. And it was great. Wrestling has to find a way to, in their pay-per-views, not just close out stories that they've been working on all month, but tell a story from pay-per-view on, from that pay-per-view singularity by itself without any preconceived notion.
Yes, make it where
they have to find a way to do that.
Make it where the fans that have not been able to watch every single Friday, every single whatever, every pay-per-view leading up to that, make it where they can figure out what's going on rather quickly,
yes.
to be in. Taylor said, I took a girl out on her first date to see Infinity War, and she hadn't seen anything from MCU. I did okay that night. Let's see. They created all the cool personas early on. I feel like they ran out, said Matt Miller. And Brown Yeti, he said, thanks, Chris. No typos in this one. So he did good on that one. It's strange the way that things are going, and they're still making money. I mean, they're still doing fine.
Yeah, they're making money, but that's not the end all be all, because at some point in time, if you lose the people that are paying for stuff, then you're no longer going to make money. This is, I have salespeople spew this bullshit to me all day long, but like, you need to, like, I've got plenty of business. I don't need you to sell for me. Oh, but you need to constantly be working on your pipeline, because when that business goes away, you can't just start from day one and then whatever. And this is what marketers say. I do think that's right when you're writing content. I do think that's right when you're trying to sell a TV show or a pay-per-view or a movie or something of that nature. I do think that you can't just wait until this well is completely dry and then say, oh, we'll fix it. We'll do something good then, because at some point in time, you've lost such a big market share. It's over. And there's so much content out there right now that people have access to, that if you lose them for a day, you've lost them forever. Gary and I talk about this all the time. There are so many podcasts and YouTube shows out there in the internet right now. If we have one bad show and somebody tries us out on that one show, they're never coming back.
Yes.
Because there's 9 billion shows for them to go try.
Yes, you got to bring your A game every single show.
Every
single
day.
time out.
You can't just dick around and hope that it all works out.
Yeah. I mean, this show is a perfect example. Everybody that watches knows we have changed up the way that we do it multiple times. We're trying to get more content out. We're trying to stay as up to date as possible, trying to talk about as many different topics as humanly possible to draw in people. Like, we want to make this thing big. We want it to be, which, by the way, you can all help with that by hitting that like button and sharing the show out with us. We certainly appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, that's the way content goes. WrestleMania is a perfect example of it. WWE is exactly what we're talking about. UFC had this problem. When Conor and the other big names kind of dropped out for a while, the biggest names out there, it took them a minute to build up some more interest in the other guys, because they had not built up the interest in them before. And once you do that, you lose some fans. So, I think UFC has got them back. I think because they've got a really interesting run that's coming up, towards the end of April into the end of May. And we'll see what happens there. Of course, in July, they got Conor coming back. They got, they're working on the Bones-Jones fight and all that. Like, they got some good stuff in the works. But for a while there, they were just keeping things going for no reason. Matt Miller, does WWE have their own streaming with the old matches? They could do that. WWE Network has it, but it's all on Peacock now. Yeah. They
got rid of the WWE Network, and they moved it all to Peacock.
You got it. So, and that is exactly what Lincoln and I will be watching. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, Michael said my 6-year-old watches the old matches. Yes. Give me Big Boss Man against Ultimate Warrior all day. All day long. I would love that. Let's talk for a minute. We're going to move to baseball. Let's talk about what happened last night. And the Atlanta Braves, there was a robbery. I don't know if you saw it, Chris.
I did. I did see it.
There was straight thieving going on in Major League Baseball at, it's not called Turner Field now. What is it? SunTrust Park or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's SunTrust.
So let me read the story here. Phillies third baseman Alec Baum slid home with the eventual winning run as Braves catcher Travis d'Arnaud attempted to apply the tag, moving from third base side of the plate to the first base side where Baum was coming in. Plate umpire Lance Barrett called him safe, though replay showed he might never have touched home plate. After a long delay for the video challenge, the ruling on the field was upheld. In real time, it's bang bang. Braves starter Drew Smyly said after the game, "We have 5 different angles on a nationally televised game, and it's clear that his foot didn't touch the plate." And I watched it. He said the foot was on the chalk. For MLB not to overturn that, it's embarrassing. Why even have replay if you won't overturn that? What the official ruling from MLB was.
Hell of a question.
Said could not definitively determine that the runner failed to touch home plate prior to the fielder applying the tag.
If you could not definitively tell, then the people doing that need to stop doing that job. Because everybody in the world could definitively tell.
Yes. That's insane. Taylor said, call Alex Baum the orphan because he doesn't have a home. Michael Fritsch, with the technology advances, it's what you have done for me lately world for sure. I think he's talking about WWE. I don't understand this. So in the NFL, we were trying to figure out with pass interference last year, right? It was this big to-do about the refs are just not going to overturn anything because they're pissed that this is even a rule, that you could actually challenge pass interference.
That's right.
Right.
So there were times where they were dead wrong. They just weren't changing the call.
Do you think that it's something like that in this situation?
Ma'am, no, it shouldn't. No, here's the reason why I don't think that. It's not the umpire on the field watching the review.
That's the thing.
They're going up to a booth. The person that missed the call in the NFL was the person that was watching the review. That I actually think we have a conflict of interest. And the reason I like the way baseball's doing is they're sending it up to a booth. They're sending it somewhere else, and they're watching it. That's not the person that made the call.
So I have no idea.
I think you need to get away from the people making the call. But so therefore, the umpires on the field have a right to make mistakes. They are people. There's a human element of the game. But when those mistakes cost somebody a game, we have to be able to replay them. So if I'm an umpire, I like replay because it gets me off the hook for making a mistake. But when somebody else is watching a replay, I don't get to see the replay. I'm the umpire. I'm standing on the field with some headphones on, letting them tell me what they're watching. And then they make a ruling. And I have to stand by their ruling because they're watching the call, right? They're watching the replay. That situation, like the managers are mad and they come out and they yell at the umpire that missed the call. I'm going to need to go find a booth and I'm going to need to go chew somebody else's ass because you had 5 different angles to see this thing and you saw he never touched home plate. And you said that you can't definitively tell that he didn't touch home plate. Also, can we talk about this? Does anybody outside of the city of Philadelphia that didn't grow up in Philadelphia and moved away, like any Philadelphia teams at all? They have any fans that are like, there are Yankee fans everywhere you go. Like there's a shitload of Red Sox fans all over the country. Like I know a bunch of Dodger fans that have never been to LA. Like they're a big market team, Cubs the same way. Are there anybody like anything about Philadelphia if you're not from Philadelphia?
No, I don't think so.
They're the least likable like sports city in the world, right?
Yeah.
Why the hell are we helping those sons of bitches?
Dave Taylor said, yet they overturned a safe call from LaCastro in replay that was questionable, but not this. Like that's the thing. There's other calls that you have seen that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, this one didn't make a whole lot of sense. There's other calls that are made that do make sense. This one just blew my mind, and this is not the first one this year. I mean, the replay stuff has been awful so far. Yeah,
like I said, I understand baseball is a lot of bang plays with a lot of you're watching the ball, the glove, and then looking at the bag. Like there's a lot of places to look to where you could miss a call. I understand that. It's
on the field, it's one thing, but
I understand the person in the booth with the technology we have, the person in the booth should not be missing these.
I agreed.
They should,
I don't know. I don't know how
them.
you miss it. Like I understand. Like in football, it's this whole there has to be indisputable evidence, right, to overturn a call. In this situation, like, how much more indisputable can you get?
They hide behind that. Everybody hides behind, well, it has to be indisputable. Man, at some point in time, we have to realize I'm 90% certain this happened. I think 90% is enough to say indisputable. All right. You're not sentencing a man to life in prison here. Okay. You're just calling a bastard out.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing.
Matt said, let's see. Hold on. It jumped quick. My brother's from Ohio, and he's a Phillies fan.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Yeah, Michael Fritz said he could not agree more with you, Chris. Matt Miller, obviously, they've been really bad this year. Talking about the Phillies. They're not awful. They're not awful this year.
No, I think the Phillies are actually really good this year.
Yeah,
I think you maybe talking
well.
about that refs, the umpires.
Oh, the umpires. Yes, the umpires.
I think the umpires have been really bad this year.
Michael said, if you're not going to get it right, then stop wasting time with replay. Dead on. And Brown Yeti, Matt, your brother needs help. Let's see. Taylor said the Reds blew it against the Diamondbacks. Oh yeah,
I find this really strange. I want replay to get it right. I want them to get it quickly, though. Like, I don't think it takes forever to figure these things out. Baseball says the rule is they're trying to get all the replays done within 2 minutes. I find them to be going over 2 minutes a lot and still getting the call wrong.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to go over the 2 minute window, you better damn well have a view that you're certain is going to give you the right answer.
Yes. Yes, I don't understand what's happening.
I'll tell you this too. I've watched a lot of baseball over the 3-day weekend, I guess, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I watched a lot of baseball. Ball strike calls are awful.
Oh, yes.
Awful. And it's no longer just like Joe West and Angel Hernandez. Okay.
No,
like,
this has been going on for years.
It's really bad. It's not consistent. It is what is a strike early is not a strike late. And it's the same for both sides of games that I've watched with no rooting interest at all. Just, it's bad. I'm now the old curmudgeon man has now reached into the technology bag and said, give me the robots calling balls and strikes. Put the umpire back there to look for a swing, the umpire back there to watch for balks, the umpire back there to call home plate, all this stuff. He's no longer calling balls and strikes. He's just not.
I'm good with that. I would love.
I'm wanting to
take
these guys who have too much on their plate. They're so bad at all the stuff that they're doing. I think because I'm giving them a way out here. Okay. We're asking too much of you. We're going to take something away that you no longer have to do. If I'm an umpire, I'd be thrilled with that. Why would I care anymore?
Yeah.
Why would I take offense that this robot's going to take my job, but I still get paid? Wait a minute. I still get paid the same to stand back here and do this job, but there's one huge aspect of the job I no longer have to do
that I don't have to worry with.
Sign me up for that.
I would be game with it. I'm
for it.
Because it's almost unwatchable at this point.
I was an old man. I was stuck in the mud. I was yelling at clouds and I wanted kids off my lawn. And now give me the technology, give me the computers. It's not just two old guys that have been doing it for a long time that are really bad. No. There's a lot of guys that are really bad.
Matt Miller said there's a guy on Twitter that gives TTE percentage on home plate umpire. It's pretty interesting follow. He said Angel Hernandez is always bottom 5.
Always bottom 5. Always. He is historically bad.
Taylor said, I'm fine if the umpire calls a larger strike zone when a pitcher is at bat because the pitcher isn't going to question it. He said, get rid of the strike zone box on TV because it doesn't matter. Like, yeah.
No. Well, yeah, I want the strike zone box there because I can't
that way
always
you can
tell. Yes. Here's the problem. And some of this is an issue. And I'll actually tell you this. If I was a catcher, I would hope they'd get rid of it too, because I think I've seen catchers like mishandle balls and have pass balls because they're trying to frame a pitch and they don't catch the ball first. And now they got a runner on second going to third because they were trying to get cutesy with a ball that was a little outside and they were trying to get it inside. And I've seen this happen a couple of times this year too. I think everybody behind the plate would be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
because
you're right.
Now the catcher does not care. here's what bothers me. Okay. It doesn't matter. So many times you're not going to get the call. If you were going to throw a guy low and inside, all right.
Okay.
And ends up being low and outside, but it's still a strike. 9 times out of 10, if it's close to the corner, they're going to call that a ball because they're assuming you missed your spot. And so therefore we're not going to give you that strike call. That shouldn't matter. That shouldn't come into effect. The fact that you saw the catcher set up one side and have to shift his body and jump to the other should not change. Is it a strike or a ball? And that's where I have a problem. That's where I'm done. I'm done. All these extra factors go into it and I'm done. I'm done with extra factors. Put the robot machine up there. And if you hit the white, it's a strike. I'm done.
Yeah. John Carter, umps inaccuracy has gone up as the movement on balls has increased. Pitchers are more focused on RPM and ball movement versus speed. It seems like the amount pitch deviates more than 5 to 10 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I do. And once again, I'm saying this, that their job is really hard. I want to take this really hard thing away. I didn't talk about that earlier, but that's right. The what pitchers can do with balls today is amazing.
Yes.
And it does make that job even more difficult than it already was.
Well, we hadn't talked about like Trevor Bauer. Like you're so just last week or towards the end of last week, maybe over the weekend, MLB is going through trying to get all the banned substances off of the baseballs, and they kind of focused on Trevor Bauer a little bit.
That's right. That's right.
They're not supposed to, I don't think, but
why not? If they think he's up to something, they're not.
Well, yeah, okay, you got a point, but it's not like he's the only one that's been doing it. So
at a big rate. So basically what they're doing is they're looking at things that he was looking at with Garrett Cole when Garrett Cole went to Houston last year or a couple of years ago, where he pitched with Garrett Cole. He knew Garrett Cole's like rotation rate, okay? And then he was watching his rotation rate with the Astros, and it jumped like 30%. He's like, that's not possible. There's no way that's possible without doing something to it.
Yeah.
And I think he's taught Major League Baseball to look for these things. And I think they've seen his rotation rate increase a lot since joining the Dodgers. And so I believe he's being watched now, and they're checking all of the balls he throws. And maybe they'll find nothing. And maybe he can say, hey, see there, I just got really good at this. I don't know. But maybe not. Maybe he'll get his ass caught, and the Dodgers crying that other people cheating, and took something from me. It's not fair. Oh, yeah, we were cheating too. So I say, be real careful when you start calling folks cheaters. Be real damn careful. Say you were robbed of something for them cheating, because your ass is doing stuff too.
Hey, moving on right quick, let's talk about the Minnesota Twins and the Red Sox today. Postponed due to, what do they say? It's in the wake of the police shooting of Dante Wright. The official statement was, out of respect for the tragic events that occurred yesterday in Brooklyn Center and following the additional details in this evolving situation, the Minnesota Twins have decided it is in the best interest of our fans, staff, players, and community to not play today's game. It's very interesting. So the decision to postpone the game was made by the Twins after consulting with Major League Baseball, in addition to local and state officials. Was this surprising to you at all that they would postpone a game over this?
So it caught me totally off guard. I will tell you, because I've been breaking down all this equipment that I've got to move and stuff. Outside of watching baseball and golf this weekend, I've kind of watched zero TV and haven't really done a lot on social media. I have no idea. I didn't even know this happened. So I didn't know that we had another police shooting.
I didn't until the game was postponed
in Minnesota. Yeah. And then in our group text, one of our boys is from Minnesota. He doesn't live there now, but he grew up there. And I'm bitching to him about my Red Sox game is postponed now totally.
And they're saying
not
it's
because
not
of
weather.
rain. Yeah. And all they keep saying is not a weather delay. It's not a weather delay. And then he tells us a story about the police shooting. And then about 20 minutes later, I'm watching the MLB, network, whatever coverage of what's supposed to be the game. And they come on and say, this is due to a curfew that's been put into place in Minneapolis and the potential for riots and violence because the city's pretty upset.
Yeah.
Naturally so.
It's very strange. Like, obviously, common sense, we're against all of this stuff that's happened. It's all bad. But just on the sports side of it, I don't, we saw some NBA games get postponed because players were walking out and all that kind of stuff. Right. I have not seen it just called because there might be something that happens.
Yeah, but at the same time, I will
get
tell
it,
you,
but
if you're afraid, I mean, because I do think that these players, I mean, obviously, the ballpark is not. I have no idea where Target Field is actually, as opposed to where these players are actually staying. So I don't know how complicated it is. Like if this was happening in Toronto, it's all fine because you don't actually leave the facility. Like the hotels are actually a part of the ballpark.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any other ballpark in the country that's like that. And so at some point in time, you're getting on a bus, leaving the team, and you're going through downtown to get to your hotel. And if the streets are filled with people and they're shutting that stuff down, and if things get crazy, you now have all these players that are at risk and are out. If the city has put in a curfew and you're not going to get back in before the curfew, also you need to, you want to follow the ordinance of the city as well, I would think.
Yeah. Taylor said, how bad is Twin security? And he said that he also did not know what happened until the postponement. He said, I see it's not a rain delay, so I always assume COVID. Like that's what he assumed.
So I knew it wasn't. I'll tell you this. I knew it wasn't COVID. I don't know why my brain went here. Just because this used to happen to us all the time in high school, like twice a year. I went to a bomb threat.
That's yeah. I do remember that.
That was my first thought was this: some jackass has called in a bomb threat.
Yeah. So there. And how about this? Do you think that this takes out the entire series?
Man, possibly. I wonder if they would be willing to move it to Fenway. But I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, Brown Yeti said
this was a 4-game series.
Yeah, Brown Yeti said, "Let's remember what happened last time this happened in Minneapolis. It wasn't pretty."
Yeah, therein lies the issue.
There's some things. Derek Chauvin case.
And they're balls deep into the Chauvin case right now. Also, so this happening on top of that, I do think there's potential in Minnesota for things to get rough quickly, and yeah, it'll just be a thing where let's pull out for a while.
Taylor said he said, I think the series is moving to Fenway.
That would make the most sense just from a baseball standpoint. Just MLB saying, all right, show must go on, but we're going to put, and this is going to suck for Minnesota. Minnesota's been hot. Minnesota's a good team, but we're at a point where they need to get games in. They're probably going to lose a lot of home games.
Yeah, it says the Twins organization extends its sympathies to the family of Dante Wright. No makeup date has been announced for the game, but there's nothing official out yet about moving it.
If they move them to Fenway, because they were all scheduled for day games anyway, they could basically – now they probably wouldn't want to do 2 doubleheaders back-to-back, but if they could get the game moved for tomorrow to Fenway – one of the next days, they could easily just do one of the 7-inning doubleheaders, which I'm not a fan of the 7-inning doubleheaders, but I understand it's a necessary evil.
Yeah. Passan, let's see. Jeff Passan doesn't have anything about it either. So I don't see anything yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's definitely strange. It's strange times we're living in, my friend. Strange times. Let's close out with a couple other quick topics. We have got Evander Holyfield coming back to boxing. Now, it's an exhibition. It's whatever, but he's going to fight Kevin McBride on June 5th. It's Triller Fight Club. Peter Kahn confirmed this to ESPN. He will be on the undercard of Teofimo Lopez, his unified lightweight title defense against George Kambosos in Miami. That's going to be on Triller. In Triller, for those that don't know, that was the one that did Mike Tyson and who was it that he fought? Roy Jones Jr.?
Yeah.
I think that's right. And so Holyfield released a statement back in March about Tyson and how there was a negotiation for a third fight. They fought back in the 90s, and it was whatever, but that Tyson turned down a $25 million guarantee to face Holyfield in Miami during Memorial Day weekend. The exhibition stuff is interesting, if for no other reason than it gets the big names back involved. This seems kind of cheap. Like and Michael's right. He said money grab. It'll be a boring sparring session. Because
I won't watch a second of this.
Like Lopez is awesome, right? Like we saw his fights on ESPN. He got picked up by Triller. Like they are going to do his unified lightweight title bout. But I'm curious, if you're Holyfield, why are you coming back to be on the undercard for anybody? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like go out, do your own thing. But he's facing off against Kevin McBride. McBride's one of the last people that beat Tyson. Like McBride is not a big name. This is not interesting.
No.
I think it's interesting that Evander Holyfield is coming back. I think it's. Yeah. I don't think there's much to this, and I don't know that I might watch for Lopez, but I don't even know that this is a big fight for Lopez. You know?
No, I don't either. I'm not interested in this at all.
Yeah.
That this lost me. You might be able to sell me on if Tyson and Holyfield ever do this again.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I don't even know that that's going to do it. The older I've gotten, I kind of just don't fall for some of these,
gimmicks,
carny things. These are just gimmicks. I don't care.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like
I'm too old. I'm just going to take a nap. Just go to bed.
John Carter said, not surprising, an article says the NBA and NHL games in Minnesota are postponed too.
Well, I think they had to. I think they had to because of the curfew. I think they had to immediately once the curfew was up.
But I thought the Twins was a day game, right?
Well, yeah, it started at 1.
Yeah, so like that wouldn't be curfew. That's just like out of safety and precaution. Like, is what it is. And finally, we'll close out with this one. North Texas softball pitcher Hope Trotwin. You heard of her?
No.
Struck out all 21 batters that she faced against Arkansas Pine Bluff over the weekend.
That's pretty good.
So softball, 7 innings, struck out 21 batters.
Perfect game. 21 up, 21 down, 21 Ks, man.
Yes, 21 K. That's the thing that grabbed me on this.
That's
I was
nasty.
Like, that is unbelievable to be like. And I don't care who the team is. I don't believe that Arkansas Pine Bluff is that great of a team. Doesn't matter. You struck everybody out on an opposing side.
All out.
Have you heard, like, when was the last, has that ever happened? In softball, baseball, anything?
No, I did in baseball, unless it's happened at some weird ass low level JUCO or high school, something or another. Major college baseball in the pros never happened.
That's in softball. I mean, this was.
And I don't follow enough softball to be able to, speak intelligently.
Yeah, and I'm not a big softball guy. Like I'll watch it every now and then when it comes on SEC Network after something else that I've been watching. And if there's like a big matchup,
I watch the World Series every year.
Yeah,
and then that's it. Like I like that tournament. And like the SEC conference tournament, I'll follow that.
Yeah, that's it. Same here. Let's see. Brown Yeti Sweet. I love the softball gals. Absolutely. Matt Miller, one last question. Why do fighting sports have so many ups and downs of popularity? Why do they do such a bad job of promoting the sport? It's not all their fault. I'll go in and say that, because you have to have riveting characters. And if you don't have any that come up and build a storyline, UFC, it's really tough, because you can have a really charismatic guy that ends up losing, right? That's tough to build on.
Well, this is why we have to stop 1 lost guys or 2 lost guys or whatever. Like, you have to stop killing people because they lost in fight. Are they a good fighter? Are they an entertaining fighter, even if they're losing? Are their fights entertaining and good? We have to stop that. Here's the other thing is I don't think it has to do with riveting people or entertaining people all you want. Like, Conor McGregor is amazing and he's a star and he runs his mouth and it's awesome. We've had tons of great fighters in the UFC that weren't talkers. They weren't showmen at all. They were just really good fighters and they became stars. Okay. I do think you can do it. The problem is your sport is fighting. All right. Your sport is very barbaric, and finding enough people in the pool of humans that want to do that for a living you have to have an equal combination of self-discipline to work out and train hard enough to be able to do that, but balanced with enough crazy to be willing to do that.
Yes.
I think the Venn diagram of people that fit that on this earth are really small.
Well,
and that's
so also on top
that's
of
why
that,
it's hard.
if you have a super popular fighter like Francis Ngannou, peak of his popularity, he disappeared for a year. Like no fights for over a year. And that is sometimes tough because you can try and build it up, but if they don't see him in action, it's tough to keep that going. So there's also that side of it. Like there's just so many different things that go into this stuff. In WWE, the storylines are written. Like there's no excuse on that. But you have to have the riveting characters. You have to have guys that can actually do it. So with WWE, I think that there's enough guys that do WWE that
WWE is different. WWE should be fine. It's literally written by writers.
Yes.
Okay. They just need to hire better writers. They need to they're telling a story. I think you've got enough athletes. I think you've got enough stars. I think you've got enough wrestlers that can do what they do. Their problem might be they have too much and they're trying to write something for everybody. And they don't like the idea of, leaving somebody off of a card or not fleshing out a storyline when really you can just let that storyline die for the bigger picture. I mean, movies do it all the time. They'll shoot 6 hours of film and they'll edit the thing down to 90 minutes. Lots of things got left on the editing floor. At some point in time, somebody's got to come in and start cutting shit and say, this is our WrestleMania. I remember when WrestleMania got to be the reason, I guess it's a 2-day thing is because, man, there was a time where it had gotten to 4 or 5 hours long. That you're not keeping anybody for that long. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. That's insane. Hire a damn editor and tell them we're cutting this, we're cutting that, we're putting this on. And that way, everything that comes out is great.
Yes. I'm a fan of that. We'll close out. Did you see Britt Reed was charged with felony DWI?
No, I did not.
So that came out a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So Jackson County, Missouri Prosecutor's Office filed the Class D felony charge Monday, stating that Reed operated a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol and acted with criminal negligence by driving at an excessive rate of speed. So maximum sentence is 7 years.
I think that girl's got I think that little girl's got a lot of brain damage. I think she's going to live. And maybe I'm misremembering all of this because it was a couple of weeks after the Super Bowl when I last kind of got an update on it. Dan Wetzel was covering it for a while really closely. I think she's got a lot of brain damage and going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's
pretty sad.
It's a sad story. Obviously, we don't like even talking about it, but it is something that needs to be brought up. We'll see. The Chiefs said in a statement Monday, the organization remains steadfast in our concern for all who have been impacted by this tragic accident. Our prayers are focused on Ariel's continued healing and recovery. The Chiefs are regularly in contact with the family's designated representative during this challenging time. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with it. Charges one thing. We'll see. We'll see what goes down. So, all right. Is there anything else that's popped up that we need to hit?
Let's get out of here.
Let's do it. All right, you guys that have jumped in have been fantastic. Everybody that listens, we appreciate you so much for letting us, take a little bit of your time because obviously these shows go a little longer during the live segment. But we do appreciate it for sure. If you would so kindly make sure that you are subscribed and that you share the show out. If you were watching on YouTube or Twitch or whatever else, hit that like button for us. And again, make sure that you are subscribed to the show. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Go to winningcureseverything.com. Go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. That's it. That's the one. All right. We are diving out. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And hopefully all of your tickets cash. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show, leave a nice review, and make sure to comment